Welcome to Is Franchising Right for You? With your host, Rick Morgin. Through each episode, we'll demystify preconceived notions about franchising, both entrepreneurs franchising and those buying a franchise. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Now here's the host of Is Franchising Right for You? Rick Morgin.
Hey, Brandon. How are you?
Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Going okay. So I just want to let the listening and viewing audience know that we have the development director with FranDevCo, who is responsible for a couple of brands, at least that I know of, Corporate Cleaning Group, or CCG as it's called, and a really dynamite model that's new, Taste Buds Kitchen. We'll get into those in a bit. So I want to ask you, did you get into franchising right after high school? Because you still look like you're 18.
Rick, you're way too kind. I feel like I always bring that up on my first few calls. I got to thank my parents for that, for their good genes, for staying youthful. But it sure does seem that way. I feel like I've been in franchising for quite a number of years now. So I actually kind of just got introduced. It was kind of a gateway right out of college. So I was a business major and very fortunate to get introduced to franchising as my first employer. I had a friend whose father was a VP of franchise development for Subway restaurants. And there was a job opening for a business consultant in my local area where I reside in Baltimore, Maryland. So what my first role was within franchising was being a business consultant for Subway restaurants, where I oversaw 40 different locations. And I got to go visit those actual restaurants and work hand in hand with the franchise owners, helping them grow sales, grow profits, in-store compliance, local store marketing, training, you name it, I kind of did it. And it was great because I got to use all the different tools that I had within my college training, right, within business. So it was really cool to kind of see that all kind of play out in motion.
That's amazing. That you're one of few people that actually utilize their college education into their career. See, I was an accounting major. Now, I really didn't do accounting in my career, and now I'm in the franchise industry, like you, different seats.
Right.
So, is in managing those stores or helping franchise owners manage their stores, is that what you call the operations side of the business?
Correct, Rick. Yeah. So that was going to be the operational side of franchising. So there's two different sides. You can have the franchise development side, which is awarding that franchise, taking a candidate through the entire process. And then after a franchise is awarded, that's when it kind of gets handed over to the corporate team, right? So the operations, the boots on the ground, that's what I would like to consider myself in, starting off as the in-field support for the franchisees. So helping them out and carrying them through the rest of the way. That's, one of the aspects of what those royalties always go towards, is that in-field support from a consultant or an operations coach.
That's a good point, because that royalty income is very much reinvested into the business. Now, when you got into development, did you go into the development side with Subway, or is it with a different organization?
No, it was a long time until I really got into development. Believe it or not, Rick, I only started with development about 2 to 2.5 years ago when I joined FranDevCo. So before then, my whole entire span of career within franchising all kind of was on that operational side of the business, whether it was in the restaurant industry. I also did dabble a little bit with automotive. So just kind of full disclosure, I had 7 years spent with Subway restaurants, 7 wonderful years, as I call it. And then I spent 1 year working in Chick-fil-A, where I was an operating partner, kind of working right underneath the owner operator within that business model and learning everything in between. I thought I wanted to be an owner operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant at one time in my career, but that kind of didn't see through. And I also spent some time with Mako, America's Body Shop, where I had a really large territory from New Jersey all the way down to Virginia, overseeing about 35 different locations with multi-unit franchisees there.
I just want to ask one question about your experience with Chick-fil-A. As just kind of underneath that owner operator, was that an experience of maybe the most amount of time you worked in week over week?
It was amazing, Rick. I got to say, it did take a lot of time, right? Those places, I think the public sees that it opens at 6 a.m. for breakfast, but they don't see what goes on in the back end where, you're going there at 4 a.m, unloading a pallet full of inventory for that week, 2 big pallets. So that takes about an hour out of your time. And then also setting up and prepping for that day and that task at hand. So those were very long days, long nights as well, a lot of wins in between there. But I got to say, anytime anybody asks me, questions about Chick-fil-A, it's the most well-oiled machine of a business that I've ever come in contact with. They really have a system and process for everything. It was definitely something that I was very happy that I came in contact with in my career.
Yeah, it's a great story because experience builds on experience, which leads you to what you're doing now. And you've had your career in food and beverage, restaurants, automotive, commercial cleaning, and a form of education. I mean, you've experienced the franchise model in several industries. What's one thing you really like about the franchise model that you can convey to our audience?
That's a great question, Rick. And I always say this on my intro calls with any of the candidates I worked with, including some candidates I worked with together with you too, Rick. So when anybody always asks me, what do you like the most about franchising or anything, I kind of roll it back to, where I kind of cut my teeth. I was a business major. It always kind of fascinated with me. That's why I chose that as one of my majors. But in the end, I love franchising because what we are awarding is the American dream of entrepreneurship. And I think, creating that dream for somebody, maybe not an industry that they thought that they would kind of fall into, but, after kind of going through the whole entire discovery process with somebody like myself, a development director, kind of learning the brand, learning the personnel, and also getting to speak to the actual franchisees that are currently involved in the day-to-day of that business is all reassuring and kind of sets them at ease during that process for them figuring out where they want to go with the next portion of their career. And also getting them out of the rut that they're in, whether it's, corporate America, they're kind of beaten up, they're worn down, long hours, less time with family. And what you're giving them through this franchise ownership model is a system, a process, sometimes a business in a box, and a blueprint on how to be successful based off somebody else's model.
And I think an added component is time that they get back, that they own. And that flexibility is a big, important decision factor, I think.
I agree. I think time is probably one of the things it's a thief, right?
Yeah.
You can never get those time and days back, whether it's with family, friends. So you want to make sure you kind of use that wisely.
So you mentioned you're in Baltimore. So I imagine you're a huge Ravens fan.
I don't know if you could tell that from the backdrop of my screen here, Rick, but I'm as big as a Ravens fan as you will see. 20-year season ticket holder with my dad. And that's where we kind of like to spend our Sundays as a family and kind of really celebrate our proud purple and black and hopefully leading to another Super Bowl in the coming years.
I can imagine that you're hoping that tomorrow is September 5th.
I do. I did see the calendar came out yesterday, and I saw the Ravens open up against the Chiefs. And for any of those Chiefs listeners out there, just be aware we're coming for you.
just a little sidetrack there. So you're with FranDevCo now. You've been with them for a few years, and you've developed some very powerful brands in corporate cleaning group, and now you oversee the development and education of candidates with Taste Buds Kitchen. Tell us about those. And
yeah, that's a really good point. And I loved how I came in contact with FranDevCo. I actually reached out to some former coworkers of Mako. So if you're familiar with my CEO, his name is Sung Ohm. He spent some time with Mako as well. Sung's a wonderful guy. And he saw that I was seeking out some new employment. He knew I had the operational side of franchising. And he said, how do you feel about development? Something I've never done before. But he said, it kind of goes right in hand with your background. You've been working with franchise owners your entire career. How about working with people that want to get into franchising? And I thought it was a wonderful idea, So one of the first brands that I developed at FranDevCo was Corporate Cleaning Group. That's one that you and I have worked on together, Rick. And, we took them to some new heights. I was very proud of all the work that we've accomplished there and all the territories that we awarded. and new franchisees that we brought into the system. So really happy to say that in last year was a really good year. We awarded 12 new franchises with 12 new franchisees, all single unit. And then this year so far, there's been 6 new franchisees awarded for corporate cleaning groups. So building off that momentum, another brand that I support now is one that I'm very, very excited about. It kind of is near and dear to my heart too, but it's called Taste Buds Kitchen. And what they are is a culinary entertainment franchise business that specializes in a culinary entertainment and fits the demographic ages of 2 to 99. So you can bring your toddlers, you can bring your tweens, your teenagers, or you can bring your spouse for a date night, maybe some neighbors as just an outing, or bring grandmom and granddad as they're celebrating an anniversary or even a birthday.
Yes, and Taste Buds Kitchen sounds like a restaurant, but it's not a restaurant. It's an educational experience for kids and 2 to 99. And now imagine if someone who's got the energy, can walk, and you may happen to be 101, they can do it. They're not going to be excluded.
Right. You're absolutely right, Rick. It's not a restaurant by any means. So that's where we can kind of get out of the same type of guidelines as what a restaurant would be operational under, with a food inspector and health codes and things like that. So we actually don't sell any food to the public. All the food's going to be prepared in-house. So, for example, Rick, if you and I wanted to go out and take one of the classes at Taste Buds Kitchen, we would go into this beautiful open concept facility that's around 2,000 square feet. And what we would do is be part of a table of anywhere from 4 to 6 individuals. And what we're going to be doing is doing a recipe. So they've got so many neat recipes within their portfolio. Probably one of my favorite is the handmade pasta, where we do fresh fettuccine and also ravioli, where we're doing everything from start to finish. So everything's made from scratch in our kitchens. And the recipes are very simplistic, that you can recreate this at your own house. And one of the things that's very important to Taste Buds Kitchen too is their vision statement, or their why statement. Mm-hmm. And that is inspiring a love of the kitchen and creating a cherished memory for all. And it goes hand in hand with the mission statement for TBK too. And that's delighting guests through a delicious culinary entertainment experience.
It's neat because especially when you start kids young in the kitchen, and they over time get comfortable with cooking and that process, and they get more interested in, and I think it's a great concept. In fact, every once in a while I check the calendar of the Palo Alto, California location, and I've noticed that in any given month, maybe a couple times a month, they'll prepare a paella, which is one of my favorite foods. So that I'd love to learn how to do that.
That Palo Alto location is wonderful. And, the thing about, we have a very user-friendly interface too, where customers like you and myself can just go visit their website and look what's coming on the calendar for that specific month, right? So the seafood paella is a wonderful dish that we prepare, and there's only limited spots too. So once that class is sold out, it's sold out. And so we want to make sure we kind of jump on that. And I love how, in the morning time, so we usually operate around Wednesdays through Sundays are our busy time period. But the thing about Taste Buds Kitchen is that there's different revenue streams too. So we don't only just specialize in the kids cooking classes or the adult date nights. We also do corporate events, and birthday parties are huge for us too. And probably one of our most sought after aspects of the business is our summer camps.
Oh, summer camps. Wow. Interesting. Imagine, depending on the location, you really probably have to book out in advance. I don't know if the franchisees publish multiple month calendars, do they?
They do, yeah. So you're going to have multiple month calendars, and usually we like to partner it around special events that are happening or holidays. For example, we just did a Mother's Day special this past weekend. So we call it a caregiver and me class. So think of this as like a mommy and me or a daddy and me class that you can go to. And they have very simplistic recipes for the kids there. So the class ages for that is anywhere from 2 to 8. And it lasts about an hour. So I can speak from firsthand experience too, Rick. I got to bring my 3-year-old to one of the classes, which was a caregiver and me class. And we actually got to sit at the same table as our founder and CEO, Jesse Brailsford. I'm very fortunate to be living in Maryland, where we also our company headquartered at in an area called Chester, Maryland. So we all got to sit at the same table, and we got to do fresh baked donuts. my kid absolutely loved it. He got to wear the Taste Buds apron around too. We got to do the donuts and participate in everything, put the icing on. He just loved it because he always cooks in the kitchen with me. And the neatest part about all this, Rick, is every Saturday morning, I usually prepare breakfast with my son. And before we do that, he always says, "Hey, Dad, wait, I got to go get my apron." So just seeing him run to the drawer to pull out his Taste Buds apron is always going to be a lasting memory for me and something that he's going to kind of associate through the rest of his life too.
That's a great story. The founder of Taste Buds Kitchen has an interesting story, from Harvard-educated Division I swimmer, Wall Street to passion, and now a booming business, right?
Correct. Yeah. Jessie Brailsford is just amazing. So just like what you said, Rick, so she went to Harvard, and where she swam competitively at the Division I level. And she kind of took that competitiveness into the business world too. So she started the business just by hosting a few different kids' birthday parties in a 1-bedroom apartment in the neighborhood of Soho in New York City. And, she had a lot of people that attended those classes saying, "Jessie, you're really good at what you're doing. Like, maybe you should turn this into a business." And at first she was like, "Guys, it's kind of just a passion for me. I don't know if it's really a business model." But as, that inquiry is kind of advanced, I think she decided, you know what, I can do this. She's got that winning mentality, and she started her first business, and it's still there to this day in the heart of New York City in the Chelsea neighborhood. And it's located on the 10th floor of a commercial building. So that's where Taste Buds Kitchen originated. It's still there to this day. So anybody that's out there listening from New York City, I'd love to have you go visit that New York City location and kind of participate in one of our wonderful culinary entertainment classes.
Well, when I visit my daughter, who lives in Connecticut, and I'll let you know, and we'll book some time. I'll book some time there. Yeah, that's interesting. 10th floor of a building is the original Taste Buds Kitchen. That just indicates you don't need to be in a Class A location, I guess. Maybe that's a unicorn. I don't know.
You're absolutely right. So it doesn't need to be Class A real estate. You don't need to have the anchored stores in the same shopping plaza as, a Kohl's, a TJ Maxx, a strip line center that has a bunch of Class A real estate. We are a destination style business. So people will drive extensive lanes to get to us, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We've even been told that people have come an hour out of their way in order to participate in one of our classes.
Wow. Well, you've had a 15 plus 16, almost 16-year career, in franchising right out of school. You still look 18, but you had to have received some great advice along the way. What are some tidbits of advice that you received?
Great
career.
Great question, Rick. I feel like, there's a lot of good mentors I had along the way, whether my coworkers or even the franchisees. I took a lot away from that. And one of the things I'm really proud about is that still to this day, I've got relationships with my Subway franchisees, my Mako owners, and even the Chick-fil-A owner that I was working with too. But I think probably one of the key individuals that really kind of painted the picture for franchising for me was my mentor. His name's Nick DeFada, who not only was a business consultant with Subway restaurants, but was also a franchisee too with Subway. So he kind of got to see it from both sides, the corporate hat on, and then also got to see it from the ownership hat on. But, I met him back when I was 22, 23 years old, bright faced. And he kind of just told me, listen, everything in franchising is about following a system and a process. Once you delineate from the process or kind of go rogue, that's when things start to fall apart. Mm-hmm. So make sure you follow the system and process for your business model, and you will be successful. And, because there's also ramifications if you don't, there's compliance standards. So franchising is in place because it is a duplicated model that is built for success. And everybody's done the legwork for you, right? They've had the failures, they've had the pitfalls. So don't go off the deep end, follow this, stay on the tracks, and you should be fine.
But I think that's one important element. One important element of awarding a franchise is determining if they're really going to be a team player.
Absolutely. I think that's really true. And unfortunately, I've seen it before, people that got into different franchise businesses and, they didn't last long. And I hate to see that too, for somebody to spend sometimes their their life savings on a business, and to have it kind of go belly up. Like, that's never anybody's goal or intention for anybody. So I'm very, very passionate about taking people through the awarding process. And Rick, you can see it on your end too, working with different candidates. Sometimes you see people that might be a better fit for one brand as opposed to another. And, it's great kind of being on that side of you and I for the development and kind of navigating them through that and kind of connecting all the pieces to make sure that they find something that maybe they're passionate about, or maybe something that just aligns to all the boxes that they're trying to fulfill within a career.
That is true. And that's a testament to the communication between my side and your side. You represent multiple brands. And if I introduce a candidate for brand X, and then you speak with them maybe 3 times and you say, hey, Rick, they're really better for brand A. Let's make that conversion. It can work that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've seen that happen multiple times. I'm actually dealing with that right now with a few candidates I'm working with, that sometimes the financial commitment for the initial investment for Taste Buds Kitchen, for example, it's more of a heavy lift because it is a brick and mortar location. So it's a little bit more of an initial investment compared to some other service minded brands out there. So I am at a luxury working for FranDevCo that I can kind of pivot that with some of the other brands that we represent, all doing with the blessing of the franchise consultant like Rick too, to make sure that he gives the stamp of approval, because I always want to make sure that I get that before presenting it to the actual candidate. But yes, that's right. I mean, not everything's going to be a one size fits all.
So some of the standard questions here. You have a favorite book? From Good to Great, Jim Collins, is that's
a good question. I've got a little library behind me right now. I'm trying to think of something that I just got done reading. Let's see here. Right now, I'm actually reading a book that is Traction by Gino Wickman. I like Traction a lot. I feel like
I like that a lot too. Yeah.
That's a good one. I feel like a lot of good businesses are built off that backbone of principles, and I highly recommend that to anybody listening right now. Gino Wickman, Traction is really good. I think that I also do a lot of reading just for entertainment too, when it's not business. But one of the books that I have right here, Start Small, Finish Big. So that's from Fred DeLuca, who started Subway restaurants. So that was one of the first books that they gave you after doing my initial training at University of Subway. So that's something I think was pretty valuable to me, that kind of really was the forefront for everything.
That's really interesting. Now, is the quote by Jack Harbaugh, is that Jim and John's father?
That is, yeah. That's probably one of my favorite quotes out there, where it's attack every day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
That is so appropriate, so perfect. It's that total positivity with every day, and I love that quote.
It's one of my favorites. I kind of just have it on, you can't see it right now, but it's on the backdrop of my wall that I kind of see every day. It's definitely a motivational tool, right? When I approach every single day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, I love it, right? Because you want to make sure that you're bringing your all to everything you do, right? Whether it's when you're networking with other franchise consultants out there, or when you're talking to a candidate, they put forth their time and effort. They carved out an hour of their day. So give them an hour of your day and give them an A+ effort in that presentation as well. Yes.
Your the quote and the fact that you have it on a wall that we can't see just popped in my head. The word "believe" above Ted Lasso's office, everybody touch as they go.
Oh
yeah. So, who influences you?
That's a great question, Rick. I think right now where I'm at in my life, my greatest influence would first be my parents. I feel like they've really have set forth a really good family model for me to follow. I really look up to my mom, really look up to my dad. They're both retired at this age, so they've had a career's time, 40+ years in their respective industries, and I really admire everything they're doing. And I'm very fortunate that now they get to sit back and be grandmom and granddad to my 2 younger children. And that's another motivational factor I have too. It's just my family. It's my wife and my 2 boys, and just waking up every day to know that, there is a higher calling that we're doing this for, and to have a backbone of your core values and, why you're doing this every day. Are you doing this just to make money? Everybody can do that, but there's no fulfillment, right? There's no fulfillment in life without the tight bond of a family. And I think that's something that really kind of motivates me and drives me each day.
You and your wife stopping it too?
I think so. I mean, I'm not getting any younger. I know you said I might look young, but I just turned 38. So I don't know how people can do it past this age much more. We still are dealing with the sleepless nights right now, with I just had another one. So he's 3 weeks at this point. So we're dealing with it all over again.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the second. My late wife and I, we have 3. So
right.
Three's manageable. It really is.
No, I appreciate that.
Even at a little bit older, that's fine.
I'm waiting for those days when they can just converse with me, go out to the golf course, and just enjoy some finer things in life.
Well, you've already got that connection with the Taste Buds Kitchen apron with your oldest child. When you came on screen, and the first thing I thought of when I saw 23 was Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers, but I know that's not his jersey. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is my wonderful backdrop, as my wife calls it. It's just the shrine to Brandon. So I got some stuff that some people might not see, that's not on screen, but I've got some different degrees up here. My college degree from my college, Wesley College. I also even have my University of Subway degree, because I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah.
I did not get an MBA, but I did get a University of Subway degree that kind of helped pave the way through my franchising career. And then what Rick is referring to is a number 23 jersey, which was my lacrosse jersey in college. I played defense on the lacrosse team there for time, and I got to say, I love it. Sports have always been really important to me. It's definitely a driving factor. I'm very competitive, whether it's, cheering for my hometown teams or even on the golf course or on the lacrosse field. So it's something that's really important to me. And that number 23, I'm sure everybody know who the most famous individual that wore number 23 is. Michael Jordan, a model of mine growing up. And that guy just has a winning attitude towards anything he does in life. And that's kind of what I like to embody myself.
That's a great philosophy. That's a great tribute to and a testament to famous people who have worn 23. And so I've I think we're coming to the conclusion of this podcast. Is there anything else you want to convey that we haven't talked about?
Sure. Just kind of the role for myself. So again, my name is Brandon Johnson. I'm a development director with FranDevCo, and I represent the brand of Taste Buds Kitchen. And most recently, another brand that I started representing is Mosquito Nix. So they specialize in mosquito repellent systems that are, we can install them to the households to get those pesky critters and mosquitoes away for the summertime, so we can enjoy those barbecues in peace. So that's something else that I'd love to connect with you soon, Rick, and talk to you more about. But anybody that's listening out there, Rick is a wonderful individual. I've known Rick now for about 2 years. We met at a few different conferences. We really hit it off. I really respect everything that Rick does as a franchise consultant. He takes his candidates through the entire process and really is educational, is educating them throughout the entire process, and is a great source of knowledge. Rick is as real as it gets out there. He's never going to try to get one over on anybody. He's the easiest guy to talk to. I love hanging out with Rick when we go to those conferences together. So you are in good hands with him. And I'm really happy to be here today to reconnect with you, Rick, and share a little bit more about my past career and the brands that I support.
We will definitely connect about Mosquito Nix, because it is different. It's systems instead of manual application.
Correct. Instead of the foggers, we have something that is permanent, that's fixed into the actual household, where there's also going to be residential side, and there's also a commercial side too. So there's a lot of businesses that have outdoor dining, and this is a perfect solution in order to get those mosquitoes to get away from the guest.
That's great. And I will get time on your calendar on that. Well, Brandon, it's been an honor and a privilege to have you as a guest. I want to thank you. and appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Rick. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
You've been tuning into Is Franchising Right for You with your host, Rick Morgin. You can find more episodes on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.